Hey everybody, Team Trekyards is back with both myself, Captain Foley,
And myself, Commander Cockins.
and I would love to say welcome back to Trekyards, but alas, this is not Trekyards, but instead a little show we envisioned entitled Fleetyards, where we leave our Star Trek universe behind and boldly go to a galaxy far, far away.
Or, in fact, visit any number of other galaxies, universes, or franchises, because this show, guys, is all about the sci fi ships and stations that are not Star Trek related.
There are not Star Trek related ships? What?
That can be from any of the numbers, the huge, vast array of sci fi realms and franchises out there. From Star Wars to Stargate to Firefly to Babylon 5, the list just goes on and on, guys. The possibilities are so endless, it's ridiculous.
True, but I happen to know that today's topic does indeed take us to a place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And for this first episode of Fleet Yards, we'll be taking a look at the Incom Corporation's Model T-65, or as you might know her better, the X-Wing from Star Wars. See, mine's bigger.
I've still got one, though. I think it's pretty good.
Ooh. Anyway, let's get on with the show.
So, the T-65 was actually the very last starfighter designed, produced, and under development by the Incom Corporation at a time when the companies were being shut down and disbanded by the Empire's interference. Imperial intelligence began to suspect that many of the head designers and company CEOs of Incom were sympathetic to the rebel cause and were developing a new top-secret fighter to use by the rebellion.
As a result of this, all of the company's assets were seized by the Empire. However, because this was a top-secret project, many of the company's employees were not privy to its existence, and key members of the design team escaped with plans for 2 prototypes after destroying all other records relating to the project. The lead designer on this project, Vurs Vorhoren, was actually arrested by the Imperials, but soon escaped and set up his own factory to begin production on a remote world. Due to the relatively small operation, however, not many X-Wings were constructed, and replacements were not easily acquired.
The X-Wing had length of 12.5 metres, height of 3.4 metres, and a wingspan of 13.45 metres. The cost of a new ship was around 149,999 credits. Nice. Or you could acquire a used one for about 90,000 credits. So, good deal there. We should think about investing in one. Maximum acceleration for the ship was around 3,900 Gs and a maximum atmospheric speed of 1,050 kilometers an hour, or a space normal cruising velocity of 2,200 kilometers an hour when the wings were in the standard cruising configuration. It supported 4 Incom 4L4 Fusible thrust ion engines, as well as an Incom GBK-585 hyperdrive unit.
The X-Wing, of course, takes its name from its pair of double-layered wing assemblies when deployed into the familiar X formation, used when in combat configuration. Each wing had its own stutter-fire-capable TAM and back KX-9 laser cannon, which could be set to operate at the limits of safety standards to generate maximum destructive power. The long cannons of the X-Wing developed longer range for its lasers, which are capable of engaging an oncoming enemy long before the enemy could actually return fire. Magnetic flashback suppressors near the tips of the lasers help shield against the occasional unstable laser bolt discharge, preventing damage to the laser itself. The 4 wing-mounted cannons can be fired simultaneously, in sequence, or in pairs.
The X-Wing also had 2 MG7 proton torpedo launchers built in. These typically carry a magazine of 3 torpedoes each. These torpedoes were extremely dangerous, focused nuclear explosives that were used for maximum destructive or just to punch through ray shielding that would deflect normal laser fire. Proton torpedoes are extremely expensive and available to the Alliance forces in only a very limited number, so much so that in the critical attack carried out on the Death Star, Luke Skywalker was only supplied with a single pair, so that was an important shot there.
Equipped with heavy firepower, hyperdrive, and defensive shielding in the form of a Chempat Defender deflective shield generator, the X-Wing is highly maneuverable and lethal enough to tangle with the Empire's very agile TIE fighters. A truly formidable space superiority fighter, the X-Wing's complex systems, rare alloys, highly durable reinforced titanium alloy hull, and a nearly unbreakable transparent steel canopy have made production of this craft very difficult and limited the number of these ships that were available to the rebels.
The ship has a primary control system very similar to those used on the civilian aircraft like the T-16 Skyhopper, which makes flying this craft almost seem effortless. Its remarkable maneuverability is achieved through a combination of at least 3 key factors: differential thrust through its 4 ion engines, high electromagnetic gyros in each of its 4 retro thrusters, which add to the turning effort, that help swing the ship in extremely tight curves, and finally, precise bursts from retro-thrust firing forward through the turbine nozzle to add further control and give the ship a critical edge in combat.
But despite this awesome firepower and excellent maneuverability, it did have a drawback when it came to its Fabritech tracking computer and Sightline holographic imaging system.
Oh, they always go wrong, don't they?
Always at a critical time, like in the Death Star trench. I know, right? These systems were not always 100% accurate in battle situations and were not nearly as advanced or reliable as the Imperial's computer systems aboard the TIE fighters. This was sort of equaled out, however, as the TIE fighter did not have any deflector shielding and could not take nearly as much damage as an X-Wing.
Powered by Novel Deck's O4Z cryogenic power cell, which provided a long, steady stream of power that could maintain multiple systems over extended periods, the ship did have an edge, however, when it came to being very practical and self-sustaining. Being equipped with its own hyperdrive and having the ability to launch and land without any special support did enable the X-Wing to operate independently, unlike Imperial TIE fighters that required a mothership or carrier for launch and landing operations, as well as being able to move from system to system via hyperspace.
The ship had life support that was sufficient for 1 week of sustained use in space, with air, food, water, and support equipment all packed into the area behind the pilot's seat. There was also a standard supply of about 1 week's worth of food stowed inside the cockpit. When the ship landed on a suitable planet, the air supply can be renewed, and the water as well as life support systems can be partially recharged without the need for a full systems repair at a base. A cargo bay area, which could be accessed from the underside of the ship, had 110 kilogram cargo capacity and carried survival gear as well as any other additional food or equipment that was required for any particular mission.
You mentioned the food stowed in the cockpit. How good do you think the dried bantha meat will be after like a long time of being in storage?
I don't know. Yoda didn't know how he got so big eating food like that, so I don't know if it's really good or not. How do you get so big eating food of this kind?
I don't know. An ejection system was also installed that could eject the entire cockpit, complete with food rations and life support, into space until rescue could arrive. Definitely a bonus there. The ship was also extremely easy to repair, as it had many removable components that could be simply swapped out or accessed with ease. This made the ship extremely reliable and a great asset to the Rebel Alliance, because, as we pointed out earlier, there were not a lot of these available as construction times were rather slow. So the ability to make quick repairs or simply replace damaged equipment without much downtime was a great advantage.
However, the ship did have one small disadvantage, that being it did not have a navigation computer. Really? This was solved, however, by the addition of a socket located just behind the cockpit, designed to house an astromech droid. These droids, as you can glean from their name, astromech, were responsible for in-flight maintenance, repairs, as well as navigation and astrogation jump calculations. R2 units could be pre-programmed to store up to 10 sets of jump coordinates, as well as make any on-the-fly course corrections or new coordinate calculations, and could also pilot the ship in emergency situations if the pilot became injured or incapacitated.
Several variations of the T-65 X-Wing were eventually constructed or made from existing space frames. These included, but were not limited to, the T-65 A3, which was a simple upgrade which included improved shields, laser cannons, and a targeting computer. The T-65 AC4, which had increased durability and could withstand even more punishment, which was pretty important because, war and all that jazz. The T-65R, more commonly referred to as the Snoop, which had no weapons, but instead had a large host of sensor equipment. And lastly, the T-65 XJ-3, which supported an extra proton torpedo launcher, bringing the total number up to 3.
All right, so let's move on to the discussion part of the show. I simply love the way this ship looks, like it could be a real-world fighter in like today almost. Very sleek and yet very aggressive looking. Plus the fact that it's so functional and versatile. Definitely one of my all-time favorite sci-fi ships growing up, and definitely as a kid, I absolutely love this thing.
Yeah, the X-Wing, I think, will be one of the most iconic fighters in science fiction history. Its look, its feel, and its part to play in the original trilogy, and I'm sure in the up-and-coming trilogy. It's a cool design, 4 laser cannons, 2 proton torpedo launchers, more than a match for an average TIE fighter. Well, not really a match at all, to be honest. It's got a deflector shield, hyperspace generator. What can't it do? You could use an X-Wing as a scout or as an all-out assault fighter, and I'm sure any general in the Imperial Navy would be pretty nervous to have 200 of these flying towards your Star Destroyer. Come on, that many proton torpedoes, you're screwed. I like the articulation of the wings, the ship's sleekness, and its normally red colours. It's great. Plus, its backstory I've always loved, and it was really fun to actually play through that backstory in Empire at War. All-round a great design.
I gotta say, they're usually not red. That was just Red Squadron.
I know, but that's what we always associate it with, because that's when we see it in the
True,
movies.
true. Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
All right, because I know we got pictures. And,
I know.
I
I don't like the blue one, I've got to say. Blue, all
the purple
green.
looks good. I like the purple.
Okay.
But anyway, moving right along. So now it's the part where we talk about what we don't like about it. I would have to say the fact that it requires an astromech droid for
Yeah.
navigation. Now, don't get me wrong, I love astromech droids. R2D2 is definitely my all-time favorite Star Wars character, hands down, and I would love to have one of my own in real life, to be honest. Uh, but to build a ship capable of hyperdrive and then not install even a simple navigation computer just seems kind of sketchy to me.
Maybe maybe they're the most expensive parts, but that seems a little bit unrealistic given everything else that's in the ship.
True. I mean, what if your droid gets destroyed or, let's say, eaten by a swamp monster? You know,
That can
these
happen.
things would never happen,
Oh,
right?
I think
Then you're stuck on a planet with no way of getting across the vast distances to an inhabited system again. I suppose the navigation computers are quite large and bulky, maybe, and would have required that the ship maybe not be as small or maneuverable. So it kind of makes sense, maybe not to include one, I guess. Eh. It could even have made the construction time much longer, maybe, as it added more complicated systems, perhaps, because it's already a complicated aircraft or spacecraft, as we said. So build times are quite long. But even a basic nav computer, like I said, capable of at least storing one set of coordinates, like your home base, would
Yeah.
make sense to me. I don't know. Not really much I don't like, I guess.
Yeah. Although that said, if you saw the one home base and one fighter gets captured by the Empire, Yavin would be screwed way earlier.
Wow, good point. Good point.
But then again, when do TIE fighters or any Imperials ever take prisoners that we really see? I mean, it's shoot to kill. Anyway, so what I don't like, well, my problem honestly is how well rounded this ship is. It's a very small vessel, yet it has a hyperdrive, and one that makes it able to be part of a large scale operation, meaning it must still be pretty fast. It's got deflector shields, lasers, and torpedoes. Going against a sublight, non shielded, lasers only TIE fighter is, well, it's mincemeat, you know. Now I know the Star Wars universe is more based on money and how that all works, and the Empire went for a cheaper operation or cheaper vessel to mass produce, and as such, none of the bonuses were ever really seen. Whereas the very limited number of X-wings the Rebels had, meant they could be fully equipped, but
But
still.
I got to jump in there. The Empire had a lot of slave races to do their construction for them, so I don't know why they cheaped out, because they could actually annex a system or a planet, and you make nav computers. Okay, we're taking over that factory. I mean, so I don't buy that the TIE fighters don't have deflective shielding. I think the only reason for that is maybe their size, because they are much smaller than a X-wing.
Well,
Because
yes, but
it's
if you
just a
look,
little bubble with a person in it, and
yeah, but
then
if you look at the raw space, I mean, why wouldn't you have deflector shielding components into parts, which, if you take up that mass, I'm sure is more than the mass of just this sleek body. I mean, there's more space than just in this bit than there would be in the two wings.
I don't know.
I think a lot of it is that there's that the Imperial Navy is huge, and the Imperial Navy in terms of fighters is huge. So, like I say, it is mass producing, and you wouldn't say, okay, now let's build a bajillion TIE fighters with hyperspace or anything. Although that gets to my next point. Yeah, I mean, it's just never sat well with me how far an X-wing outmatches a TIE fighter, TIE bomber, and while yes, a TIE advanced or Vader's TIE might be more of a match, with hyperdrive and deflector, we saw only a few of those in the original trilogy, and they weren't ever really a huge concern. Whereas you'd think the Death Star, the Death Star, would have the largest fleet of TIE advanceds, but oh well. I don't mind its need for an astromech droid, as I believe in some of the later novels, they in fact, there you go, implanted the new nav computer where the astromech was, so it wasn't really a problem later on. So yeah, it's a great design, and it's funny. It was almost an Empire design, really close to almost being an Empire design. Imagine if Luke was only limited to a Z95 Headhunter or an A-wing. Those movies would have played out completely different.
True, true. And I like that fact that they implanted a nav computer in the droid slot. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. If you can compress a hyperdrive unit, something that can fold space and go through that. Like, if you think about it, fighters are meant to launch from a capital ship and go and attack. So it's more. I think it was just to facilitate Luke's, being able to. I mean, did they ever say in the first Star Wars, "Oh, use your hyperdrive, Luke"? I think it was just for the sake of giving him the ability to get to Dagobah and whatnot. Because imagine if he'd had an X-wing coming up out of Hoth and it was only sublights. Oh, okay, now I'm gonna have to go on that Mon Calamari. Can I just nick the Mon Calamari quickly to Dagobah? And they're like, no, Luke, you can't. You're only had. Yeah, I think that's probably why it had a hyperdrive.
Do you think it was just done to fit the story then, to
Yeah.
make the story progress?
Yeah, because they wouldn't invent a random new fighter when everyone loves the X-wing to give him to get to Dagobah and then back to Cloud City and then. Okay, that was no, they. Yeah, that's my impression. Which I just thought of doing this. This has never felt like a hyperspace capable ship to me. It's got these thrusters, but you're telling me this grill is hyperspace. I
No,
just
these probably are as well.
no, well, no, they specifically are just thrusters. If you look at they're just
Yeah, but the TIE fighter has nothing even close to resembling something this size for an engine. It's got two small red dots at the back, which are its engines, its ion engines.
oh yeah,
These I think are a combination ion hyperdrive engine.
yeah. I mean ion engine. So I guess it might just be design aesthetic that these have them, but you're probably right. They look like thrusters as we could say, but you're right. Probably I mean they're going to be hyperspace and thrusters. I don't know. I just
Because I think the main unit for the hyperdrive is in here,
mm.
but I think the actual engines are. I think they would use these.
But since there's so many variations in I mean the obviously these have engines looking Star Destroyer's engines. Millennium Falcon has a big semicircle of blue light. I mean I don't think engines are an engine. Like there's no set design, so I think they come in all shapes and sizes depending on what the art director decided to do. So I don't know. But yeah, that was always my thing with the X-wings. Glad we got to discuss it, and I think that's me done. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it for Fleetyards Episode 1, A New Hope. Full show idea. Lame joke?
Maybe a little bit, but honestly, if we're all honest here, isn't that why you all come to the Trekyards channel?
Yes, for our often cheesy and always very entertaining commentary.
Yes, yes.
Hope you enjoyed it, as we definitely enjoyed making it for you. Now, obey my shirt, as both my shirt and I say, join me. Well, us, by clicking that like and subscribe button. This is a channel that focuses on a lot of sci-fi stuff, not just Star Trek. So subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want to see more of Fleetyards, where we examine ships from all of the different franchises.
And I get the feeling you guys do. It's been a very highly requested thing for like 9 months now.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So if you could help us out by supporting our Patreon page, by clicking the link in the description, or if you can't do a monthly basis thing, if you want to do a one-time donation, please visit trekyards.com and click the donate button. Okay, so until next time, this is Captain Foley.
And Commander Kongs
Saying we will see you out there somewhere. Bye, everybody.
Bye.